Hello and welcome to a very special show here at the India Today group. Joining us today is our special guest, Bela Bajaria. Bela was named the head of global TV at Netflix in 2020, overseeing all scripted and unscripted series from around the world. She leads the team for all television and is responsible for several hit shows, which I'm sure you've all watched, including Bridgerton, The Queen's Gambit, Lupin, Unorthodox, Dark Desire, Indian Matchmaking, and several more. Joining us around the table today is a stellar lineup of some of India's top talent. Anil Kapoor, Shefali Shah, Sakshi Tanwar, and Rajkumar Rao. With lots to talk about in terms of the opportunities in storytelling, the hit series that they've already done, that are oncoming, and much more here at Netflix India. Thank you all so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bela, let me start off with you. You're known and you've carved that niche, that reputation. You know, you've been promoted to global head of TV on the back of your penchant for finding those unique stories around the world. You know, tell us a little bit about your journey at Netflix, how you've really managed to hone in on local language talent that resonates with audiences worldwide.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. You know, I think it's interesting. I look at my job now as head of global TV at Netflix, and it really is what is so gratifying to me, a connection of my life personally and professionally, right? I'm an Indian woman growing up in America and never saw myself represented on screen, right? Never saw my story told. And, worked in Hollywood for many years. And when I went to Netflix, this idea of actually telling just really local, authentic stories, but with a global platform, was really powerful and interesting. And so traditionally, Hollywood has always exported stories around the world. And what's really been amazing to see is to have local language series that are authentic in their own country and provide them sort of a global platform. So for people to discover like these amazing actors here, obviously very famous and very popular in India, but to have an entire world see their work in that way, right, is a really exciting thing to be a part of. But I'd say whether it's, right, Mumbai or Madrid or Hollywood, it really is about a creator's vision. Somebody walks in the door and they have something to say, and the creativity and really creator first, story first, vision first, and staying authentic to that vision is, I think, why these shows have resonated. And my entire career has been that. Find a vision, back a creator's vision, support them, and kind of get out of the way. It's really sort of, I'd say, the magic to it. And that's really what we do, globally in all of these countries.
So share with us, from some of the recent hits, and there have been several, but, perhaps an anecdote or an experience that stood out to you, whether it surprised you that something became much more widely accepted than you would have ever imagined.
So if I think I can mention, I'll talk about a few titles. I think what's really powerful and interesting to see is that Bridgerton season 1, right, was the biggest English language series Netflix had had. Season 2 just launched, and season 2 became now the largest English series that Netflix has ever launched, right? That's just, a month ago. I think what has been very exciting to see, though, is that Money Heist, La Casa de Papel. I know people here know Money Heist for sure, but what was interesting is that it was word of mouth, and even in India, it was not popular season 1, right? Just the fandom grew, right, in the last few seasons, and how it's continued to grow every season. So to see a show in Spanish, told locally and authentically for a big Spanish audience, and that was the goal, right? It's supposed to be very popular and very relevant in Spain. To see it connect with people in that way is really amazing. And to see it connect even a few seasons later and continue to sort of grow. And I have to probably mention Squid Game because it's obviously a big one. And to imagine, and we know that, right, Korea has been really interesting about exporting entertainment, exporting K-pop and sort of music in that way. But to see a show, again, it was going to always be a tentpole in Korea. It was a very important title in Korea. To see a locally authentic show made in Korea from a filmmaker who had that script for 10 years, right? And nobody made it. And it was a film script. And to turn it into a series and to make it. And to see that it was organic fandom. To see that members around the world and members in Korea and Asia who first discovered it really were the ones who used, right, meme and TikToks and lots of other things to explore the fandom of that show. And to see a show in Korea become the biggest show Netflix has ever had is a really powerful thing. It has never happened ever in the history of entertainment.
No, that's amazing. And I'm going to come back to you a little bit more on global markets. But Shefali, you played the lead role, a very gripping, powerful role in a show that went on to win at the International Emmys. And we know there's a second season coming up, talking about season 2. As an actor, how did this challenge you? What was the kind of experience in working on a show like this? Was it far more nuanced, perhaps, on an OTT platform with the kind of script that you had to work with than what we've seen perhaps happen before in Indian cinema?
Hi, Abha. Thank you for having me. Yes, it's not easy, but it's very interesting because when you're doing a series, you have the opportunity of 8 hours of film to create a character. So it's extremely exciting for an actor, but with that comes great responsibility. And Delhi Crime wasn't easy because when you're talking about something that actually happened, sensitivity is paramount. And I think that was one of the USPs of DC, is that it did not do anything to sensationalize it. It just told a story authentically, organically, and honestly, touching all the chords that everyone felt when the incident happened. And along with that, also, I'm so glad that my debut on an OTT platform was Netflix and was Delhi Crime. I couldn't have asked for better because, also what was interesting is DC changed it became my learning curve. With those 8 hours, the other thing that was very important was it was a story of 5 days. So every moment was accounted for. Every single moment. When I went to set, the first question would be, what is the time? Starting from day 1, night 1, how many hours has she slept? When was the last she had a coffee? When did she have get that adrenaline rush? When was the last clue that she got? Or when was the last dip that she had? All of that. So I'm glad I got to do that because my way of working has changed. Yeah, so DC, I don't think there is another. I'm sorry. With all due respect to everyone here, and there's some amazing content on Netflix, but I think there's nothing like DC.
No, that's a really interesting insight, and we'll go straight to Shefali on that, to Sakshi on that as well, because that's what everyone's talking about now, and you had a phenomenal response. For you, how was this a breakout moment, as an actor, seeing the kind of response from viewers, the fact that you managed to essay such a thrilling role? It's been called, very layered, your performance is being raved about. For you, what's the experience been like?
Well, it took me 20 years to do something like this, and I have to thank Shefali, Delhi Crime and Netflix for these kind of shows, because they really opened the gate for a lot of other actors and different kind of storytelling, and I'm glad that I got to do this. But I have to be very honest, I was quite scared in the beginning. I wasn't even sure whether the creators wanted me for this role, because I was like, no, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'll not be able to pull this off, because this was too much out of my comfort zone. I'd never done something like this. And I remember telling Atul Mongia, director and creator, that I'm very scared. And I'm glad that they thought I fit the role, and they had more confidence in me than I had. And yes, it was very challenging. I was on my toes all the time. Like Shefali said, it changed a lot of things for me also. And I unlearned a lot. While I learned something new, this was also like a constant process to unlearn what I have been doing over the years. So there were scenes which I would do in a certain way, and the directors would come and tell me, no, let's do this way. And it's such an exciting phase. I mean, there is so much to experiment, so much to explore, so much to experience. I mean, I think it's the best phase we are in.